You're right, Tom. You are looking beautiful today. Handsome. Like the sun is shining. You've got a lovely glow about you.
I will tell you what has contributed to that. So I usually go to the gym first thing in the morning, but since I had gotten multiple tattoos in the past couple of weeks, obviously you're not supposed to go to the gym very soon after you get a tattoo, but I went back this morning, alarm went off 6:30, straight up, had all my clothes laid out, got dressed in the dark, got my bag, went to the gym, arrived, was finished by like 8:15, and then had a lovely coffee with my girlfriend before she started work, and then we both came home and started work. So really good start to the day, gets you glowing.
I'm glad to hear that. I did the opposite. It was fireworks at the university last night, and I had lots of booze and no dinner. So I wasn't hungover this morning, but I definitely, like, Ink Master finale day has, yeah, I don't know. It was coming off the back of a slow and exhausted week.
You weren't tempted to use an electric scooter last night?
I was tempted actually, but I thought better.
Yeah, because you knew how angry I would be if we had to reschedule again.
Well, Layla also said this to me. She was like, because she was out, so I was dead asleep when she got back, and she said to me this morning, I messaged you till I was on the train home and you didn't reply, and I thought you must have got a scooter and died. Keep death off the roads. Keep death off the roads. Yeah, man, Ink Master, right? Like after last week.
Oh, also, if you haven't already guessed it already, you're listening to Beneath the Skin, the show about the history of everything told through the history of tattooing. We're talking about the finale of Ink Master. We're doing both episodes in one go, so you can get it all in one place. Matt, you seem relieved. I feel like there's a weight off your shoulders.
Well, yeah, honestly, right? Like last week, we were so miserable and bored by last week's episode that you didn't even want to put our episode out.
Yeah.
And I sent it to you that you had to put it out because, it's a realistic reflection. Give the people what they want. Like this week, although I do think it was padded, I think we could have done without that being 2 hours of content. And I want to talk about some things that I thought were a bit weird structurally in the way the episode was put together. But like as a TV show about tattooing, like I want Ink Masters to be like this every week, where they just do tattoos the whole time.
Mad, you're going to get what you wish for when we start watching series 1 through 13.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, so like we've come to the end of a long road. Yeah, like at the time of recording this, the last week's episode will have come out by now, and you can really tell how just tired we were of last week's episode. It was really kind of quite, it was really the worst parts of Ink Master all shoved in one episode, but these two episodes are really, really good. So if you have taken a break and you're listening in, who is left? So we have Jason, we've Anthony, we've DJ, we've Bob and Gian and Angel. So we've 6 competitors left.
6 competitors left. This is my first critique of the production of the episode. I think because it was the final, they felt like, I guess from what I've seen from those flashbacks to previous seasons, they used to do big live finales and everything else. So they're obviously not doing that. And I got the sense that they obviously wanted to ramp up a little bit of the drama. It also happens in all of these shows where when you've got fewer contestants, you have to fill the space around the thing that they're actually doing with other stuff. And there was the first kind of 20 minutes or so of the first part of the finale was really unnecessarily aggressive in terms of its attempts to ramp up this drama, and had people kind of posturing, and it was all very forced and very fake. And as I said, one of the things I've quite enjoyed about Ink Master actually is that although there's been moments where the producers clearly wanted to generate some drama, some kind of backroom workroom drama, they didn't lean into that too much. And in a way, that's why I think that this last attempt was even more frustrating to me, because there haven't really been. I mean, they've tried very hard, but there haven't really been storylines of like, intercast conflict. And so it just, that first 20 minutes was just felt really tonally a bit weird, like quite aggressive, quite nasty. And I don't think anyone involved really believed it.
And it's funny because when I don't know if we're going to do sequentially season 1 through 13. I feel like that is a commitment that we are not yet.
I need a week off.
Oh no, you're getting a couple of weeks off. We're going to watch something else instead. But if we're going to pick and mix the best seasons or watch them sequentially, like there is some great kind of reality TV moments in some of the earlier seasons of genuine conflict between people, and it isn't like nasty posturing. It's just the case of you have a lot of incredible artists with big egos in a room together. It's going to happen. But yeah, like I it was quite forced. I think it has lost a little bit of the magic of like the big live show finale, because you typically would follow the competitors off to do like a tattoo, and they'd be in their hometown, and kind of a bit of interesting set dressing.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it was just kind of like, we don't have the budget. But ironically, I was thinking, and I was having a bit of retrospection, if that's a word, after I finished it. And funnily enough, I think this season has actually killed Ink Master better than Oliver Peck doing blackface.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, as I said, I really love these 2 episodes, and we'll talk about why in detail, I guess. But as a finale to a season, and particularly the very, very end, and then we'll talk about this when we come to it, but it did feel underwhelming as a finale, and it was really like the last, the last moments, the last couple of minutes, it just ended really abruptly and like without much fanfare. Like, again, if you watch, I've talked a lot about these other reality shows. If you compare any of the other big reality shows that we've been talking about of this competition format, there's often a bit of fanfare at the end, right? Even in something as sort of quiet and gentle as like Great British Bake Off, they'll have all the old contestants come back and the families will be there. And I mean, maybe this was filmed during COVID, so that maybe was part of the problem. But like, there's a bit of a kind of retrospection about, like these are the things you've done over the season, and there's like a little montage thing at the end about what they're doing now, and like there's a little bit of kind of sense of finale. And actually, I love this because it was as a show about tattooing, because actually for the first time really they just did lots of tattoos, and the constraints that they were under weren't super egregious, and the Master of Chaos twists weren't particularly twisty. But yeah, as the finale of a like however many episode reality show, it was really weird. It was a really weird, tonally weird program, don't you think? Like anticlimactic, and I mean that in sort of a literal way, right?
It felt like it kind of came to like a kind of shuddering halt, rather than like this big bombast moment where like we're both watching Bake Off at the moment, and that kind of build up we're seeing currently in Bake Off of like, you have Sandro, Shabira, Abdul, and Janusz, Big Janusz, come on beneath skin. Sandro, come on beneath skin. He has lots of tattoos. But it just feels like, if like it was going to go on for another like 3 or 4 episodes, and it was just like, no, it's done now. And like in my in my introspection last night when I was thinking about like how this compares to other seasons, I think one of the biggest things that is missing from this is that, one, the judges don't have much charisma. Like, sure, they are like very, very good artists. They have very little chemistry together. Whereas like when we go back and watch like older seasons, like for better or worse, like Chris Nunez and Oliver Peck are incredible judges and incredible like presenters as well. And like Dave Navarro, for as much of like a weird freak as he is like compelling as the host. Whereas, like, I think you can really sum up this entire season of Ink Master as like quite milquetoast.
Yeah, exactly. And do they always do a 2-part finale as well?
No, it's usually so. Usually, what happens is the live show finale. They will have like a pre-prepared tattoo and then a live tattoo as well, as far as I can remember. And it's like the judges and the public get to vote on it.
Right. I mean, I think because also, right, weirdly, although this also is probably part of this anticlimacticness, I did watch them both in a sort of single marathon just before coming on air now. And the first episode has an elimination at the end, so it didn't even need to be a separate episode. Like, it was basically, it didn't need to be part of the finale. It could quite easily have stood in as a separate, like, and there was no continuity between the two parts of the finale. Although, as I said, both of them were good in the way they talked to, in the way they actually showed off tattooing, interestingly. But there was no need for it. They didn't feel like a single coherent 2-part finale that was linked.
Yeah,
I mean, again, production-wise, just weird.
But see, and I'll talk about this when we start talking about the second episode, but there was, like, as a producer, there was weird things I spotted that indicated the space of time that had elapsed, but both between the episodes and also the tattoos that were done in the second episode. So let's start talking about the actual tattooing. I had joked on Twitter that this episode's going to be like 2 hours long, but I don't think there's actually enough content to justify that. I think what is the first challenge? We got the skull picks, and it's an elimination challenge.
Elimination challenge, and no nonsense flash malarkey, no making of robots or blowing up of gunpowder. We're just going to do some tattoos. And the challenge here is it's a massive long session, 12 hours, which is too long. It's too long. I mean, it's nice that they've got, and I think it shows actually in the quality of the work. Like, they've got enough time in most cases to do the tattoos that they want to do. So in that sense, yeah, a nice long session is tattooing someone for 12 hours is too many hours, right? Like, it's a long session. I think it gives, and I think this is true of some of the things that happen in the second episode as well, I think it gives a slightly misleading picture about what's possible in a standard tattoo shop. There are issues here, like, is your tattoo going to be as good done in one 12-hour session than it would be in 4 3-hour sessions, right? Or 2 5-hour sessions.
Yeah, 100%. And like, sorry, if anyone's listening, I am moisturizing my new tattoo. So a bit of ASMR.
Big up Sanoderm.
Big up Sanoderm. So one thing that I noticed, one, is that there is not a single man sitting for this 12-hour tattoo. It's all women, which indicates that.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's a good point.
Yeah. So the challenge is 12-hour leg pieces. Freestyle leg pieces. So they have skull picks, and the first thing that's pointed out is, there's more skulls than competitors. So obviously there is a variation of styles that are available to pick from. So
is there a variation of styles I can pick from, Thomas?
Yes. We'll talk about this. But yeah, and it was funny because I was watching it with Sinead, my girlfriend, and I pointed out that, like, it's all women, definitely a group of men, which, well, actually, no, in the second episode, we'll talk about that, but that maybe it was that women are more open to getting, like, larger pieces on their legs. Like, a 12-hour thigh tattoo is painful. Like, I've only sat for, like, a couple hours at a time for tattoos on my legs, and no bueno, so sore.
I've got a big tattoo on my thigh that was done in one go. I was much younger, but that was like 6 or something hours, and I didn't enjoy that, and certainly wouldn't be able to do it now. Like 12, no way would I sit for 12 hours anymore.
But see, if I can remember correctly, I feel like they have actually done a challenge before on a previous season where they had to tattoo older people. Obviously, you have like much more considerations in terms of like the skin is a little bit thinner, you know, how it will heal, you know, there might be some sun damage, whatever. But yeah, 12 hours, leg tattoos. So do you have the styles there noted in your notebook?
I do. I mean, so also this is Blind Judge, which is what I think is hilarious because they obviously, you know, it sort of shows in a way, the fact that these are blind judged shows just how narrowing the competition has been. And we've talked about that pretty much every week, about how for all of that talk at the end in the final judging about versatility, really this competition format perhaps inevitably narrows down the range of tattooing that's possible within the show. But they picked, and I thought it was also interesting, so they picked the skull picks with the styles underneath them, and you would presume, or I would have presumed, that there was lots of different styles, but 2 pairs of people got the same style, which is also kind of indicative of how limited the imagination is here, right? Again, no black work, no dot work, no hand poke, no traditional. Well, no one pulled traditional, but like, yeah, no hand poking, no, like, you know, very limited. Once again, we had neo traditional, color realism, Japanese, and then which I want to talk about a lot when we come to talk about it.
And then surrealism.
Surrealism. Yeah. Which I don't know if that is a style, and certainly we'll talk about that when it comes to the judging. But those were on. So Jason, I mean, you can, right. So once again, there, right, we've got essentially, other than surrealism, the same things we've had in previous episodes. Not a lot of variation. And again, as I'm sure we'll talk about it, most of these artists ignore the brief anyway.
What? On Ink Master? They ignore the brief? They do their own style regardless?
Yeah, but and I wish, and this is why I like the back pieces in the second episode, because actually it just does let people do good tattoos. Like, you know, stop with the nonsense. Stop trying to create a program that makes people give people shitty tattoos. So anyway, blind judging, and it's free in terms of what they want to do. I was interested, and this is something I would be interested to know, how they like how their customers, their canvases got assigned. Like, was it like, hey, we're giving you something massive on your leg, you get whatever, or you want something in this style, you'll get it done by whoever picks that style out? Something in between, like that little bit of like behind the scenes stuff, I would have been interested to know.
Yeah, 100%. And like that is always, I suppose.
Sorry, there's a little bit of jeopardy, right? In like the whole, the sort of standard version of that, of like, you know, get a kind of gumball tattoo and you get what you're given.
Like I would assume that, like, you can, in the same way you can kind of sign up for Big Brother, you have to fill out a form in terms of like, okay, you know, what kind of thing you would like, are you open, what space do you have free to get done, because none of these canvases had any tattoos on their legs, from what I could see, so obviously there's like a criteria of you have to have X amount of space and you have to be able to sit for that long.
Yeah, and I think, you know, given that there are sort of really interesting, like, contemporary artworks, like Scott Campbell in particular, who did that piece where you'd stick your arm through a hole in a wall and he'd tattoo on you whatever he wanted to do. Like, that's actually quite conceptually interesting and quite kind of, there's a lot of jeopardy in that, and there's an extra layer of jeopardy about whether or not your customer's going to like it. I presume that this wasn't quite as free as open as that. I don't think, you know, and there must have been some conversations happening. But I don't know at what stage. And I don't know if there was like more people than showed up and they're like, hey, here are the designs that the artists have drawn up within their brief. Who wants this one? Who wants that one? I don't know. I thought that would be interesting, you know, and would have actually been an interesting another layer to the competition.
Yeah,
frankly.
Yeah, 100%. So who got what, Matt? Tell me who got what.
So we got Jason doing neo-traditional. Gian doing surrealism, or let's tell you what they got as well. So Jason chose for neo-traditional to do a wolf in sheep's clothing. Gian, who got given surrealism, did a kind of neo-traddy lady head thing. Angel, who got color realism, who she declared herself to be too creative to do color realism. Did a sort of Siamese cat thing, which was well, I'll tell you what I think of it in a minute. Anthony got Japanese and he did a dragon. DJ got color realism and did a tiger. Hilariously, because Angel went, color realism, all it is people doing pictures of tigers, and then DJ did a tiger, and then Bob did a Japanese. Who picked Japanese? Got a kind of got a yokai, a Japanese kind of monster, demon figure thing. So yeah, that was it. And 12 hours, and free choice of design. I really liked all of those pieces, actually.
What now? One thing I want to talk about before we actually start talking about the tattoos is, so we do spend a little bit of time with the tattooists and the canvases while they're getting tattooed. And I just want to point out that one, Jason is really fucking disrespectful to the people he's tattooing, and I hate it how ignorant he is. He's like, come on, breathe. Like, he's just being such a dickhead to someone who is like sitting for 12 hours being tattooed by him. And I don't know, I think it really left a bad taste in my mouth. And like, it's funny, watching it with my girlfriend, because I feel like obviously women have quite a different experience getting tattooed than men. And, straight away she was like, he's so rude.
Yeah. And I don't know, that's what I mean about the weird, like, aggressiveness of the early bit of the episode. It was really obvious that Jason's, if they'd let into it properly, like Jason, they would have made Jason like the proper villain of this series, and they didn't, because he's not actually that bad a person. And I think that was probably as much a result of weird editing decisions than it was for any actual decision. I mean, the
you're just defending him because you like his coat. You just like his coat and how he dresses, just because you're two Willy Wonka dressing motherfuckers.
I don't like how he dresses generally, actually, but I did like his coat. The flip side of that, of course, is like Anthony, right? Like Anthony comes across just really lovely and sweet and genuine in this episode, and everyone's very sad to, spoiler alert, see him go, and like he comes across very, very nice. So they do a really great, they really do a nice edit with him. So I think it's similar to the way Tony was with every one of his canvases throughout his appearance on this season, like really respectful to the person that's getting tattooed, making them comfortable. It could have been the edit, but I don't know. I just kind of think that, like, if you're talking like that and the producers leave it in, I think there might be a grain of truth where there's a beach. Yeah. I suppose so. So yeah, like, I don't know. What do you think of them? I thought they were all good. They were all good. I mean, again, it's nice that giving someone enough time to do a good tattoo is. I wish we'd seen more of that on this program.
Yeah. So I think if we're going to talk about the tattoos, I don't think anyone did a particularly bad tattoo, so we can't really go worst to best. Let's start talking let's talk about Gian's, because Gian's, I feel like there is most to talk about. Like, once again, Gian, when given a challenge or a spec that is not Neotrad, just does Neotrad. So in the vein of, since this is a tattoo history show, Matt, can you give me a little bit of history of surrealism tattooing?
Well, so yeah, like, actually, weirdly, the surrealists themselves, an art movement which
talking about Dadaism.
Yeah, so Dada sort of predates surrealism, basically. So Dada arises during World War One, particularly as artists are fleeing occupied Paris and fleeing occupied Berlin, or not even occupied Berlin, German Berlin, Nazi Berlin, and they're ending up in neutral Switzerland. at the Cabaret Voltaire and making
Great
art.
band.
Great.
Fantastic
making
band.
making art about how how the world has gone crazy. And then when those artists and their followers start moving back to Paris and New York and London, in that order of importance, I suppose, that develops into this art style called surrealism, inspired largely by the works of Lucian Freud and psychoanalysts. The idea being that you're doing, that somehow in this craziness of your dreams and your delusions, is some kind of kernel of truth about your character or your desires and things like that. And actually, some of the surrealists were really interested in tattooing. So Robert Desnos, who was like one of the real sort of key poets of Parisian surrealism, he was tattooed, as was his girlfriend called Yuki Desnos, a model. They were both tattooed by a guy called Leonard Fujita, who was a Japanese artist who came to Paris in the 1920s. And so tattooing was a part of his practice. And then there's even a story in one of Spider Webb's books, actually, about Salvador Dali famously seeing a guy in New York with his face tattooed with flames, and Dali kind of bowing down to kiss his feet. I don't know if that's actually true, but Spiderweb certainly reports on that. So the surrealists are sort of interested in tattooing, right? They're interested because it can reveal, potentially something about your inner beliefs, but also it's a bit transgressive and a bit sexy. In terms of like surrealism of design, and surrealism, in most of its forms is either kind of nonsense or automatic. So automatic writing, this idea that you just kind of let your pen wander and see what happens. Or it's kind of juxtaposing strange animals. That stuff's been in tattooing for a long time, design-wise. And there are some really interesting tattooers, including my friend Jack Watts, who now tattoos at Songbleu in Los Angeles, who does a kind of automatic writing style tattooing. He'll just sort of doodle blindly and then figure out what shapes emerge from it and what designs come out of it. So he's really engaged with surrealism as a practice, even in the modern world. Now, what surrealism doesn't mean, Thomas, is realism. Surrealism and realism are not in any way connected. Surreal linguistically means, more than real, like above reality, because it's meant to be this kind of transcendent, a more real, like what you can determine from your dreams is more reflective of the reality of your beliefs and your consciousness and your desires than something you actually have conscious access to. So it's actually completely disconnected from realism. And if we think about the famous surrealist painters, so Dali, obviously, Magritte, Max Ernst, probably some of the biggest names that people who listen to this may have heard of in the European surrealist tradition. None of them painted in a particularly realistic way. Max Ernst did collage as well as painting. Magritte's stuff, working on a sort of template set by the Italian artist De Chirico, had, it was sort of very illustrative. It basically, surrealism and realism have nothing to do with each other. And Army fucking James, man. Army the fucking James
strikes again.
Oh my God. He was like saying, there's not enough realism in this surrealist piece. Like, come on, man. What the fuck are you talking about? It's just embarrassing.
Make Matt Lauder a judge on season 14.
Don't do that. I'm embarrassed.
Or season 15. Season myself. 15.
Look, he's an amazing tattooer, as I've said before, but like he don't know shit about a lot of things. And that was just embarrassing. Like the tattoo, as I said, because of this kind of narrowing, right, between new school, neo-traditional, illustrative, all these things that are overlapping anyway, let alone within the kind of limits of Ink Master as a show. Gian did something that hilariously Creepy Jason called out he's like, oh, has it got birds? Has it got lady head? Has it got leaves? But it was pretty surreal, right? It was a lady face around a skull, and for some reason, like Army James was like, well, the skull should be realistic, or the lady face should be realistic. It's like, no, dude, like surrealism and realism are not the same thing. Read a book.
Yeah, like in terms of like the technicality of the tattoo, it was very well done. Just it boring. It's Gian doing.
Yeah, it was boring.
Like, if you've listened to every episode of this series, like you know that like I really like Gian as an artist, but doing this late into the competition is just so boring.
Yeah. I do appreciate though. I mean, here's where I think I do appreciate, because he had 12 hours to do it. It was a very, very good illustration of exactly like the sort of best version of his style and his work. And I think, again, I'd love to have seen more of this over the series, like fewer nonsense flash challenges, which tell us nothing about anything. And actually some more opportunities for the tattooers to actually do tattoos in a comfortable time frame, in a style that they know, and show off their work, rather than being deliberately forced by the format to be bad.
And then, I suppose, next, let's talk about DJs. DJ got color realism. He did a tiger. Just incredible. Like, this is what, if you want color realism, this is, like, I don't have more to say about this other than the fact, like, this is a technically immaculate tattoo. Composition-wise, incredible color. So, like, I'm a bit harsher on tattoos that don't have like really strong and bold outlines. So we're talking like stuff like realism, micro portraits, stuff like that, in terms of their longevity as tattoos. Like, even as this tattoo softens over time, it will still be so beautiful.
Yeah, it had, I mean, again, there was this kind of insinuation that this is a bit bread and butter for him, but I like that. I like that he was given a chance to do something that he likes doing and did it freaking amazingly. And it had lots of like black in it, so I think it'll settle really nicely. Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that I'd want tattooed on me by any means, but it's a phenomenally good tattoo, and I think, yeah, like really, really, really liked it. And again, like, I feel really happy for the client who got that, because again, in previous challenges, people have been asked to do color realism who weren't very good at it, and so the work's been bad. I mean, that, I suppose theoretically that could have happened here, right? Like, someone else could have picked, but it seemed to work out quite well. And yeah, a phenomenal tattoo. Nothing much more to say, right?
So let's talk about a not so great tattoo, the samurai sandwich that Jason did. Ninja sandwich.
Ninja, yeah. I mean, this was a kind of, I think, an illustration of him trying to do too much. I think we see in the next series challenges where he really excels. This was, this was just, I liked it. I thought it was technically pretty good. It wasn't very readable as a design.
So he did like a neo-trad wolf in sheep's clothing, but the wolf is like wearing samurai armor that's made out of the sheep, and the way that the hands are stacked, so it's like the wolf's head in a traditional samurai helmet, and like then the two arms are holding daggers stacked underneath it. It just like, and I think it might have been Ryan Ashley that pointed out, was like, the only way the perspective on that tattoo works is if you're looking at it from the front. Yeah,
and I think they even struggled on the show to get it in a good frame, to get a good single picture of it, right? Because it was just a bit all over the place.
Yeah, it was a bit, 5 pounds of shit in a 2 pound bag. But like, yeah, like it technically very well applied tattoo, just poor composition. Composition is everything, Matt, as we've learned from this show.
We have learned that.
So yeah, then we move on to Angel's tattoo, the Siamese cat. You're a cat person, so I'm a cat person that doesn't own a cat, so
I'm not a Siamese cat person. I mean, again, right? Like, here's a good example of someone.
I'm just freaked out by the fact that you have to moisturize them with olive oil.
I think people have told you that are lying, Tom. I think
I've seen multiple videos of people like you have to like moisturize your hairless cat, and that like olive oil is like really good to help like moisturize their skin.
I
I'm
just
like,
think we've ended up in a really dark and weird place because of the YouTube algorithm. I don't think that's in any way professional advice.
top 10 tips to oil your cat.
I thought it was a great, again, not the kind of tattoo I want on myself. I thought the bits that she added to it, the kind of pixelization, are going to date it. It's going to look old fashioned very quickly, but again, phenomenally good. It's nice to see again a tattoo with enough time to tattoo well, and like I really liked certainly the cat at least. I thought was fantastic.
Yep, and then we have, who do we have left? We have Bob. No, we'll talk about Bob last.
Okay, so
next
Anthony,
we
then.
have Anthony. Anthony did a Japanese dragon. He won season 7 with the dragon, and as he talks about in this episode or the next episode, he felt like he had something to prove because people said like, oh, the dragon was unfinished that he won with, and just cool tattoo. Just made a couple of poor judgment mistakes. Like, it's too dark. It's not really readable. Funnily enough, kind of made the same mistake that Katie made that sent her home.
Yeah, there was. I mean, it was interesting because up close there was loads in that was lovely. Like the sort of depth that he got in by using shading was, the sort of 3-dimensional compositional depth was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, from a distance, it was chucked in with all that black around it, and it just got swallowed up. I don't think he needed to do that. I don't think he had to do that. I think he could have given it more room. As one of the judges said, given it room to breathe. That's such a nice spot on the thigh, and dragons are so great because you can really put them onto and make them really work in the space. And he just, it lost itself a bit. It was lovely up close, but didn't really work from a distance.
Yeah, it did lose the readability because of how dark it was. And then we have
and Bob.
Oh, we have Bob last. Sorry, Sanoderm is just liking my tweets. Shout out Sanoderm.
Shout out Sanoderm.
Then we have Bob, who just did, like, Bob once again outclassing everyone. Like, this tattoo is just incredible.
Absolutely wicked. I mean, again, right, like, it's funny when the judges choose to impose this is in the style or not rule, because Bob got Japanese, and it's a Japanese design in a way. It's a Japanese subject. It's not tattooed. It's not drawn largely in a Japanese way. But that doesn't matter because it's fucking wicked. Like, it's such a good tattoo. It's very Bob. Like, I thought it was absolutely stunning. I'd get that tattooed on me all day long. I love it. It's a real nice contemporary twist on all of that stuff. And I'm surprised that Army James didn't stop wanging on about rules and shit again.
Yeah, one thing, like, Bob has shown consistently over and over and over again that he just has like a masterful handle on color, putting color solidly in the skin, solid line work, really good, just creative mind and like reinventing ideas that, say, people might have thought of before, like his, the mecha yokai mask that he did a couple of weeks ago. That, once again, phenomenal. And he's just like constantly really outdone everyone. So
really innovative, really like understands the traditions of tattooing, but is willing to push the boundaries a bit. And his use of color is incredible.
Yeah, and he, like, honestly, he is one of the only people off this current season that I would love to have on this show and just talk to him for like 2 hours about everything he does, because, like it's been said, a couple of times on the show, it feels like he is carving out a new genre of tattooing and like a new kind of stylistic mode, and it's just incredible. And like, if you have can't guess already, Bob wins this challenge. I don't know why you're listening to this if you haven't watched it, but Bob is safe.
Yeah, that's also right. Again, let's talk about that as a programming decision, because what that means is he doesn't have to do the next challenge, right? So that means the best tattooer gets to do fewer tattoos, which seems weird to me as someone who and I sort of forgotten that was the prize. And when it came to the end of the next challenge, which Bob wasn't participating in, I was like, "Where's Bob? Have I? Oh no, yeah, right. He got an exemption from this." But like, again, it seems like a weird decision in the final.
I think that's more because of like the reality format, and that's what happens on other reality shows. So yeah, then we have the next challenge, which is something that we've seen on other seasons of Ink Master, and is like really, really good in terms of like an interesting watching and an exciting challenge. So the next challenge, we have Anthony goes home. Unfortunately, he gets sent home because once again, like we talked about, he got tagged on the fact it's too dark and too unreadable. And then, the next challenge is each of the 4 finalists who aren't Bob, so that is Angel, Jason, DJ, and Gian, all have to design 1 hour flash. So they have to do 4 consecutive tattoos.
Which they never call it flash, do they? It's just so weird.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's who's trademarked. Lal, have you trademarked flash?
Yeah, they never call, maybe because they have the flash challenge, they don't call this flash, but like this I want to see this like every freaking week. This should be what they do in the flash challenges. Like every week they should do this. Because I don't like the fact they had to do it all of the same person, but that's, I guess, speed reasons and expense reasons. But like there's something really interesting and important, I guess, for a viewing audience who doesn't know a load about tattooing, to see how the same line drawing becomes different tattoos in the hands of different artists. Like that's such an amazing, interesting, fascinating thing. And I'm really annoyed it took until the final to get it. And I'm also really annoyed that it was sort of a bit too quick. 60 minutes is too short. I'd like an open time version of that. Tattoo this as long as it takes you. But I'm someone who's interested in tattooing. I don't care about reality TV. So, but yeah, I just love this as a thing, because it's really close to how working tattooers are actually working. It's really slammed in with loads of interesting history. The idea as well that a couple of the artists do little tricky things with their designs, like. Lots of tattooers used to do that. Sailor Jerry famously used to deliberately miss things out or misconnect lines in his flash. And if you bought it, if you paid him money for it, he'd give you a little cheat sheet. He'd tell you where the mistakes were. If you just if you stole it or copied it secondhand, you may end up doing really bad tattoos. So it's a weird little sort of, what do they call it? Mount Weasel. That's what it's called in phone books. You know about Mount Weasels, Tom?
No.
So the way that phone book map makers used to stop, because you can't copyright information, right? So, but you can copyright organization of information. So the way that map makers and phone book makers and stuff used to stop competitors copying is they put in a fake or more than one fake place. And if that fake place was in their competitor's product, they know their competitor would have stolen it from them rather than doing their own work. And that's called a Mount Weasel, because I think in one of them places it was like a Mr. Mount Weasel or something was the fake name in the book. So deliberate mistakes in order to kind of protect your intellectual property are called Mount Weasels. So I like that.
Thank God I had the foresight to copyright trademark beneath the skin. It's trademarked to me. I'm very sorry, Matt. I will get you joint legal status at some stage. I just have to figure out how.
The term is from a bogus entry in the 4th edition of the New Columbia Encyclopedia from 1975, a fictitious Lillian Virginia Mount Weasel. There we go.
Interesting. So yeah, this challenge is each of the 4 remaining competitors who aren't safe they have to design a 1 hour tattoo, and they each have to tattoo all of the designs. So they have to tattoo all 4 designs back to back. So I would assume that like the canvas gets like a break in between, although it's only 4 hours, it's probably not that bad. So Angel first has this little like eyeball thing that's like on like it has like petals or leaves.
Well, so on that point about breaks, right? I did notice that in a couple of moments, people were looking at other people's tattoos while they were doing them, which didn't seem to be possible if they were using up the whole hour and they were all tattooing consecutively. I'm guessing that probably isn't what happened, because otherwise, how would like DJ be able to go and Jason be able to go over and like look at what Angel was doing?
The way I would assume that it worked is that either they were staggered, so they started at different times to allow the camera crew to move between competitors.
Oh, of course. See, they're things like a producer. Yeah, of course. I'm again, telly on the cheap.
So it was probably they had to move between competitors, so that way it allowed them a certain amount of flexibility, and it also allowed for that reaction shot of the other competitors looking at their tattoos. So they each design a little 1 hour banger. So Angel does this little eyeball thing with leaves that's on a stem that's meant to be like your ocular nerve. Gian does a traditional panther's head with the love hearts. Matt, where's the origin of that design? I'm sure you know.
Well, the not the panther head necessarily, but the story about the panther in tattooing, or the very, very famous like crawling panther, is that the most famous version comes from a 1930s children's book, whose name escapes me off the top of my head, but that was the kind of theory. At least, like, I don't think that was the first person ever. That was something that Armand Dietzel was doing. I don't think it was the first ever person who got a panther tattooed on them, but the very, very famous version of that design with the one claw up, one claw down, comes from a children's book. There was a brief moment I learned recently that there was a sort of trend in the 70s for like ceramic black panthers to be put on people's televisions, like as a sort of TV top or TV top ornament. Yeah. So I think like it was a real like brief trend. If you Google image search like Black Panther TV lamp, you'll see loads of these things. Like you also get lots of weird things about the contemporary Black Panther movie. But yeah, there was a weird trend for panthers on top of television.
See, this is the fun things that the onward march of technology has taken away from us. You can't put one of those on a flat screen TV.
Exactly. I'm
going to get one and put it on my audio interface that sits on my desk. in addition to all the other tattoo stuff that I have on this wall. So Gian does like a little panther head with love hearts. Jason does like this little kind of like Mickey Mouse kind of like rat head. I feel like that's a 90s reference or something that I'm not old enough to understand.
Well, I think they call it Ratfink, which it wasn't really Ratfink. Ratfink is that sort of Mickey Mouse parody done by Ed Roth in the in the 60s. That Fair. Weird little like green looking ratty ass mouse, like that was a Ed Roth thing, but Jason's wasn't really like. I mean, it was just a ratty rat. I mean, they were all wicked. DJ did that like Tengu mask.
Notably with the strings missing.
Yeah, well, that was his little mount weasel, right? Like to see how people would figure out what they could do. A real kind of classic Japanese design. This like sort of weird dog basically is what they're supposed to be. They're weird little, they're also sort of yokai basically, these weird little demon monstery things. And the masks obviously come from No Theatre in the same way as some of those things we looked at a few weeks ago. Really, really cool design. And then those were the 4. And I thought, I mean, again, I really wish this was every week. I could have watched this as a concept all day long because it tells you so much about, like, it's a very real way of putting tattooing on television, right? Like the timescales are comprehensible, picking stuff off Flash. The idea that like the same design is going to look super different depending on who's tattooing, both in the line work and the shading and the color choices and its composition, like all of that stuff, I fucking loved. And I'm just so annoyed it took to the last episode. Which, I mean, I liked all of them. I'd have all of them on me. I guess my least favorite of the designs, I suppose, was Angel's. A bit fussy for me, and then maybe Jason's rat. But I loved Jian's panther. I loved the little Tengu mask. I thought they were all just super, super cool. Also, I'd have liked to have seen Bob tattoo all of those as well, right? This is also why I'm a bit annoyed about the formatting.
Yeah, Bob, come on the show. I will let you tattoo all 4 of those designs on me. Do you have a Le Creuset mug?
I do. It was a present from Layla.
Of course you do. Only the best things for our Matt. So yeah, so at the start of this challenge, Angel is notably a little bit kind of off-put by it because she says, like, you know, I'm competing against people who are very fast tattooers and I'm not a fast tattooer, which, you know what, fair enough. You know, people work at different speeds. But when it got to the critique, she got dinged a couple of times for missing out on details because on her eyeball thing, she was like, oh, if you try and do it in color, you won't have enough time, where everyone did it with enough time in color.
Yeah.
And when it came to Jian's Panther, which, you know, those tattoos, they require a lot of black. You have to be really consistent to make them not look patchy. She didn't, you know, didn't put ink in like one of the ears, so it just looked like this weird triangle that was sticking out. Everyone did little takes on the rat fink, and then DJ obviously had set up a trap for everyone missing the strings. Everyone got the strings, but everyone did them really differently.
Yeah, and again, that's interesting, right? And it shows you again how choosing the artist is a really important thing when you're thinking about who's going to tattoo you. And I thought, you know, this is, again, one of the reasons why I love this so much and why I was so frustrated, because Jason freaking nailed this, right? Like, was stunningly good at all of those designs. He's not my favorite tattooer stylistically, despite his good coat. But this is such a good illustration of a tattooer's craft, right? Because you're working with a limit of the design, but all of the decisions you're making are basically your own, and it shows all kinds of things: your knowledge of tattoo history and your color theory, your technical skill, how well you can shade, how well you can line, how well you're, you know, picking your right needle groupings to do stuff in the most efficient way of time. Like, Jason has sort of underwhelmed me a lot this series frequently, but given this chance to like just do good tattoos, he was way better than I thought he was going to be. Like, he really surprised me.
Yeah. So when it comes down to the critiques, we then see who is going home.
So yeah, well, so Angel went home. I think probably rightly, mainly because of that panther head that she didn't finish. I hope the customer who has got that was allowed to let her finish it.
I would say 100% either that person has like already gone to another artist to get it filled, or has gotten it filled by Angel.
Yeah, I'd hope so. But I thought they were all great. I thought what was I critical of? I thought like DJ's version of the eyeball flower was like really wild. I thought like Jian's eyeball flower was really nice and clean, and I wrote down, oh, that was really clean, and then one of the judges said it was. I thought, yeah, like, I don't know, I thought Jian did great. Like the panther that DJ did of Jian's design was hardcore. Like, it was great. I thought it was really good, and they were all excellent.
Yeah. So with Angel gone home, that is the end of the finale part 1. And then we have the finale part 2. Hey, are you enjoying the show? If you really like Beneath the Skin and you want to help support us, you can do so on Patreon. For little as £5 a month, you can help make this show possible, help us buy research materials. So if you like the show and you want to support us, consider kicking us a few quid a month. And you'll get everything from bonus episodes to Q&As, and you can even vote on what tattoo I'll get when we reach a certain subscriber count. Matt, have you got anything to say?
You should really definitely fund the Patreon, because tattoo history is massive, right? Deep, wide, complicated. We're covering some big hit topics on the main feed, but on the Patreon subscriber-only feed, we'll be getting into some really more interesting, niche, deep topics you don't want to miss out on. And honestly, the chance to kind of decide what Thomas gets on his body is probably just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Subscribe, chuck us a few quid. Don't miss out on this chance to ruin Thomas's body forever.
Everyone knows that tattoo aftercare is one of the most important steps in getting a new tattoo. We all want our fresh new tattoos to heal as easily and hassle-free as possible so we can show them off to the world.
That's why Sanoderm's here to help. Driven by science and innovation, Sanoderm products have been thoroughly tested and used by doctors and tattoo artists alike for over 10 years.
Sanoderm brings cutting-edge technology to make your tattoo healing process a breeze. No more messing around with cleaning and plastic every few hours with Sanoderm's amazing range of aftercare products. I personally have used Sanoderm to heal my tattoos in the past, and they made what used to be a daily process of setting reminders on my phone to clean and rewrap my tattoo into a one-step process.
Their medical-grade products include aftercare balms, soaps, and my favourite, their second skin aftercare bandages. Sanoderm's tattoo bandages are designed to be waterproof, breathable, and keep your new tattoo protected from whatever the elements can throw at it, so you can get on with your day, worry-free, and confident your new tattoo will look vibrant and will heal faster.
Plus, their products are all natural and ethically sourced, so you can take comfort in knowing that you're healing your tattoos with nature's finest ingredients.
So next time you're in an artist's chair, why not try Sanoderm, healing your tattoos the modern way so you can get on with your day.
Check out the link in the description of this episode for discounts on a range of Sanoderm products or for more information. Everyone hold on for a second while I have gotten cans of Coke Zero underneath my desk. They are sugar-free and caffeine-free because I don't like having fun. I'm also wearing my recording Crocs as well, the ones I got in Aldi. So Matt, feel free to make fun of those.
You're recording Crocs, Jesus Christ.
I wouldn't be surprised if you have some like £100 recording moccasins.
No, what have I got on? I've got some North Face slippers on today. There we go.
You've no idea how hard it is to find this Coke Zero that has no caffeine in it.
Why? I once bought that by accident. It can't be that hard. I brought it home for Layla and she was furious with me.
I mean, I had a can of Monster at like 7:15 in the morning and then had a coffee at 12 when I was going to the laundromat. So, you know, I will not be having more caffeine. But yeah, so we're on to part 2, and we have Gian, DJ, Bob, and
Jason.
Creepy Jason. And the challenge is you have 24 hours, so 2 12-hour sessions back to back to do a back piece.
I mean, again, don't do that. Like,
do it under general anesthetic.
Fucking hell. Call back to a previous episode. I think, again, this is frustrating. Don't do that. Like, don't get a back piece in 24 hours over 2 days. Like, you ain't going to get the best back piece possible.
Don't get any tattoo over the course of 2 days. Let it heal. No. Go back in 2 weeks' time and get it finished.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen people do back pieces like that, but, you know, not lining it, shading it and colouring it all in one go, like doing it segmentedly, which means you probably can do stuff. You know, you can finish a chunk of the back piece and then move on to the next bit on the following day, where it's not all, you know, it's not all sore and ground up.
Yeah, like the way I saw someone do it recently is actually, so they had like 2 stencil sheets, so essentially comprised of over 4 stencil sheets. They did the top 2 stencil sheets. The person came back in like a month, I think, and then because they saved the bottom part of the stencil, they just lined up the lines on the bottom piece and finished it.
Yeah. Sutherland McDonald used to do that with multi-session back pieces. There's a great famous image of him doing a dragon on a guy's back like that, head, neck, and then, finishing it in bits rather than outlining it, shading it, and colouring it as a single piece. But yeah, so that aside, again, I'm sort of interested again in the canvases and how they were found, and because each of the artists got to do what they wanted, which again is wicked, really, is great. Again, I like that. The time limit is frustrating, but the fact they're able to do the work they want to do, fantastic. Back pieces are a big deal, right? I still haven't got a back piece because they're expensive. I suppose maybe people are getting nice free back pieces if they're getting them on this show. Back pieces are expensive, and it's your biggest canvas, so you don't want to be getting a bad tattoo there. And also, I really think that they should be something which really sum up, which you're really already into. And so I'd be interested to know how involved those people getting those back pieces were in the final designs, whether they got some input or not. Because again, time pressures aside, love seeing tattooers doing work they want to do.
And it with back pieces, like you said, the importance of them, it's also going to be one of the few tattoos you can get that you'll never be able to see with your own eyes.
Yeah. More or
so
less.
I do, as someone who I've thought a lot about getting a back piece, and I've had a couple of ideas. I'm not going to get one for a good while, but even the thought of committing to a full scale design that takes up your whole back, and thinking about how long it will take, how much it will cost, and the physical endurance of actually, because your back is meant to be very, very sore, it'll be the back of your ribs, your spine. I have so much respect for the people, the 3 men or 4 men that sat for these. But yeah, really, a really impressive challenge to set for 4 artists, to give them completely carte blanche to do them. And I think they all have done good jobs.
I mean, I think in my, again, I'm not the ideal viewer for this program. It's obviously not aimed at me, but I'd like to do a back piece, come back in 6 months, right? Just let them do a fucking great back piece on a customer with time, and we don't need. I don't need, at least, to see them doing it. I'm interested in what the final tattoo looks like.
And funnily enough, 4 episodes ago, I remember you shouting down the mic, let them do something like a back piece. So you're really getting your wishes on this final episode.
Yeah. Let them do a back piece. As I said, I would prefer without the constraints that it had. But yeah, so Gian did this lady head with a tiger at the top.
What style did he do it in, Matt?
Surrealism? I don't know.
Gian did Neotrad.
Yeah, and it was quite monochromatic. It was very reds, pinks, and blacks. I really liked it. One of the judges said there was a problem with the nose, and annoyingly, when you pause,
I couldn't figure it out.
When you pause the Paramount player, it minimizes the thing you're playing, gives you an advert. So I couldn't pause it to stop and look at it properly, and the site blocks you taking screenshots too. So I couldn't stop and look at it long enough to figure out what the hell they were talking about. Did you see that?
I think it might have been the small sliver in the nose of the head part, but I don't know. I think it's funny because it's weird seeing the judges actually argue and have input on tattoos for the first proper time, and it's the last episode.
Exactly, and I was a bit, again, it came down in the end to Joel fucking Madden having the final vote, right? The casting vote, so to speak. Weird. Wouldn't happen in other reality shows. And and wouldn't happen if you had 4 judges. Like if you had 3 judges, you can't get a tie. That's why Strictly has 3 judges.
Also, it was funny that it wasn't necessarily funny in that I think it was Gian's canvas that was like convalescing at the end.
Yeah.
Like 24 hours of tattooing in the space of a day is not good. And then
just unnecessary. I mean, I think so Gian did this new school lady head thing, just brilliant, just nicely. I mean, again, not the kind of thing I'd want to get tattooed on me, but like nicely composed, very readable, lovely. DJ did this kind of interesting, like sort of quasi-realistic looking black and grey face with loads of cartoons bursting out of its head, which I liked. I thought all the critiques that he got about it looking a bit lopsided because the guy's top right shoulder was empty, I thought were very legitimate. Actually, I thought compositionally that was a bit weird, but a great tattoo. Bob did this like kind of mecha dragon thing, which I guess
it reminded me so much of the dragon from the Beyblade logo, and also Shenron from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, well, it was a twist on a classic. He clearly wasn't happy with it, and I think I understand what he didn't like about it. I think some of the color choices didn't quite work, and certainly, again, almost like what happened with Anthony in a slightly different way, it wasn't able to speak for itself against its backdrop. If you look at really great Japanese or even not like look at Sutherland McDonald's dragon back pieces, for example, where there's loads of negative space, or look at a big dragon back piece that a Japanese, a really, really classic Japanese artist has done, and they have a lot of breathing room, and I think Bob was understandably trying to do a bit too much in the time, and I think suffered for it really. I mean, again, a stunningly good tattoo that's going to look awesome forever.
And the design was essentially a dragon made out of china, like cups and plates.
Yeah,
and
porcelain,
just
yeah.
like so creative. And like, once again, I do think like Bob is probably one of the most exciting artists to come out of Ink Master, full stop, out of any season. But yeah, I agree with the critiques. It very much seems like dragons were the downfall of a lot of competitors in this season.
Yeah, and that's interesting, right? Because there's such Katie struggled on a dragon. Anthony struggled on a dragon. Yeah, you're right. And I it's funny because there's such a kind of classic design, but I guess maybe that's the thing. If you're trying to mess with the classic and you're ending up in trouble. And then Creepy Jason, I did a little cheer on your behalf when he just did a wizard.
Yes, when I saw this, I was like, I can't wait to talk about more wizards. Yeah, like kind of it looked like the cover of like, a paperback fantasy novel that you would find for like 50 pence.
Well, what it looked like, and this is maybe I think what he was going for, is a tattoo from the 70s. Like, it was very old school. It was very much like ripped from the kind of horror comics composition done in the 1970s. In the color choices, not so much in the style. Like, it wasn't drawn like a 70s tattoo, but compositionally and in particular, in terms of scale, it felt very old fashioned. Maybe that's what he was trying to do. I think I thought it was quite badly composed, way too busy. And I think part of what frustrated me about it is it wasn't super kind of up to date take on a classic, and it wasn't leaning into its kind of, its reference points by the other direction. It sort of fell between two stools, which it was brilliantly tattooed. Don't get me wrong. I thought like some of the close-ups on it were gorgeous. But I think it either could have been more modern stylistically, or it could have been more self-consciously 70s, like referencing in a very like postmodern way those old 70s things. Like there was a guy who tattooed in the UK called Ian of Reading, who I think he's still around actually, but he was certainly like, he was a big deal in the 70s of doing like big.
The man who changed Lal Hardy's life.
Yeah, and I'm trying to. We had a photo. We had a one of his designs up in the exhibition that we did, of a naval battle. In fact, here it is. I'll send you the link so you can look at it. But this is basically I think where Creepy Jason went wrong. But you love Wizards. Tell me what you think.
I love Wizards. I agree with all of the critiques that it got. That it was like the colors were beautiful. It was so well done, but it was just way too busy. Like it did not have like one's. Oh wow, I'm looking at that Ian of Reading tattoo. It just kind of looked like there was no focal point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And I think,
and like, funnily enough, I feel like this final challenge is so illustrative of all of the strengths and weaknesses of these four tattooers.
Yes.
Throughout this entire season, you have Bob, who is incredibly innovative and risk-taking, but sometimes can kind of get ahead of himself and take too much of a risk and kind of forget maybe some of the basics that he needs to remember. You have Jason, who will try and pack every single thing into a tattoo, even if it is the detriment to the tattoo. You have DJ, who will do incredible like black and grey realism and color realism, but will forget the detail in some parts of the composition. And then you have Gian, who will do incredible stuff in one style.
Yeah, I think that's such a good way of framing it. And again, I'd like to have, because it was the finale, I'd like to have seen it make a bigger deal of that. You know, to actually have given these artists a space to have that conversation about their work and about where they'd come over the course of the competition, right?
So the first one to be eliminated, unfortunately, is Bob. I think, like we said about the critiques, I think all the critiques were fair. I think with more time and being a little bit more careful, this could have won the entire show. This could have won him like 250 grand.
Yeah, and I think you're right. He lost sight of what he was doing, and clearly got inside his own head a bit too much. Yeah, and so then they old Chaos Master himself came in to like, mix things up. It always going to be a jury of the peers. And again, like, maybe that's a fun idea, actually. Like, they had already done it, like, last week or a couple of weeks ago, which is not very chaotic. And also, they clearly just brought back the other two artists who were still there. They hadn't
Anthony absolutely dripped out in that white suit, white polo neck and chains, and, like, gold-studded shoes.
Clearly, he didn't rush home to his child. We still don't know what happened to his child. Who Anthony just left and abandoned. But like, again, clearly a show really running out of money because they couldn't even afford to fly all the other contestants back. Again, as happens in loads of other reality shows, I guess it's different in Britain compared to the United States. But like, often in Bake Off or the pottery thing or interior design masters, like you bring back all the other competitors from the show to as a little reminder and to be involved. And I actually thought, oh, okay, this is going to be the jury of the peers. They're going to bring back everybody, and then they didn't bring back anybody. They just brought back, from stage left, brought back Angel
from a travel lodge around the corner from the studio. We have Angel and Anthony.
Exactly.
So yeah, Bob.
This is what I mean about the whole thing feeling very cheap, apologetic. They
spent all the money on the prize money.
I suppose so, actually. I mean, that's probably not a bad point. They spent all the money on the stupid fucking welding robots or whatever. All the bits of acrylic to make sculptures out of.
Yeah.
it in that massive like hangar of a studio, having those two and only those two come back again just felt really just anticlimactic, really like a fizzle, not a bang.
Yeah. So then the next person to go down in elimination is Jason. I think too busy, too complicated, no focal point, an incredibly done tattoo, but he did not have what it takes to be Ink Master. Then it comes down to DJ and Gian.
Yeah, and this again was an interesting conversation. I'm annoyed that, as I said, bloody Joel Madden got a kind of say on the vote. I don't really understand what they were talking about with the nose on the tiger thing. I didn't see it. I don't know. Out of those two, I think I would have picked Gian.
It is a better done. Well, no, not necessarily better done tattoo. It is the better back piece, but the reason Gian did not win Ink Master is because he played it too safe and did Neotrad, which his jury of peers, dinged him with. And it's funny because I love the season that Gian is on first. And it just seems like he was a better artist 4 years ago when he was on it first, when Ryan Ashley won.
Interesting. I mean, again,
much more ambitious, much more varied, like actually took a swing at doing other styles, and yeah, just like cops out.
I mean, I suppose like this again comes down to something I'm comfortable with in the design of this program, which is like, do I want a tattooer that's good at every style? Like, is that really what I want from a tattoo artist? And like some tattoo artists are like that. And also I can think of a few examples of tattooers who really made their name in one style and then like absolutely transformed and became phenomenal in a different style. And that takes a lot of artistic confidence and a lot of balls when people, particularly when customers are coming to you for a style and you saying, no, I don't do that anymore. The person I'm thinking of is amazing, important figure in British tattooing called Jo Harrison. She was tattooing, she really kind of pioneered like a particular kind of new school in Britain, and now basically does like realism stuff and like is phenomenal and like changed the industry, had a very recognizable style that she was very known for, and then took a real risk with her career and started doing other things and really pulled it off. So there's definitely scope for tattooers to work across styles, but at the same time, like, I don't know if that's what I want from a good tattooer, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I suppose I just consider it in the conceit of the show that this is a show designed to challenge tattoo artists or tattooists or tattooers, whatever word you want to use, in every aspect of tattooing, and that includes doing other styles.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, again, like, I feel like if we wanted to actually do that, I would like to have seen more specific technical challenges rather than these weird like things that were framed as technical challenges like composition and they're not. Can you do a whip shade? Can you do a smooth shade? Can you do a line? Can you draw a circle? Can you do a nice solid non-blotchy black tattoo that doesn't that heals evenly? Like, if that was what we wanted the competition to do, we could have designed the show in a different way to do that. It may not have been as televisually interesting, but I suppose you're right. Within the conceit of the show, Gian ultimately was more conservative stylistically, and
it's kind of funny at the end because you can tell how angry Gian is that he lost. You can, when Bob goes up to commiserate with him, he nearly just like turns away and walks away from him.
Oh, but I didn't notice that.
Matt, Ink Master is dead. Long live Ink Master.
Yeah, but didn't that feel weird? Like they just went, "Oh, well done, DJ, you've won," and then it cut to the titles. I was like, "What the fuck? Like, is there more?" Like, there was no there was no recap. There was no like fireworks or confetti. There was no like hugging of, it was just sort of ended like really abruptly. It was like, well, yeah, DJ's won. That's it now.
Get out the Prosecco, get out the champagne.
Yeah, I would love to have seen like the customers from the first week come back and show their tattoos healed, like a little bit of vox pop of some of the people who'd been tattooed, like going, "Oh, I love getting tattooed by him," or some of the some of the other people that were eliminated. "Oh, I'm really pleased." The kind of things that you have on other shows like this. A little montage of like, what happened next, or I don't know, man. Like it was for a finale. As I said, it didn't need to be 2 parts. That was actually 2 separate episodes, and it just like ended.
So much like the show just ended, we are going to end our Ink Master season 14 watch along. Matt, we begun this journey 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. We are now at its end. Before we embark on another one, we have become changed people. How has your first experience with Ink Master changed you as a person and as a historian?
Well, it sort of vindicated my decision not to really watch this stuff, honestly. Like, I'm sorry that I've had a lot of fun watching it, Tom. I really have. But like, I'm not the audience for it. And there's more about it that frustrated me than made me really happy. And I definitely did learn a few things actually, but like I just want to see good tattooing, and so much in this show, and maybe so much in all of these shows, actually gets in the way of actually doing the thing that I want tattoo television to do. That's it really. I really enjoyed watching it, but I understand. I don't feel like I've missed out on not watching it in the past,
Yep, exactly. So thank you very much for listening and watching along with us with season 14 of Ink Master. Our next televisual journey, we have not decided yet. It is Matt's turn rather than mine, since I inflicted Ink Master upon him. But if you enjoyed the show and you would like to hear more, we've been Beneath the Skin. You can follow us online at Beneath Skin Pod on Twitter. You can find me online at GotIt@Guineys. That's GUYNEYS. You can find Matt at Matt Lauder. He has a book out called Painted People, a history of tattoos in 21 people. Is that the correct subtitle?
That'll do. It's not, but that's close enough.
That's fine. Available on all good bookstores. We have a Patreon where you can get bonus episodes, early episodes. If you subscribe at the £15 tier, we will send you a copy of Matt's book signed with a personal dedication.
Thank you so much to everyone that's done that so far. I am waiting for copies. They're being shipped out of a warehouse in Glasgow from my publisher to me. As soon as I get them, I will get them out to you. So we're really, really happy. We've had a number of people already subscribe at that £15 tier. People who are subscribing at the lower tiers as well. We're super grateful, super happy. I think we're going to have a few weeks, hopefully, just doing a bit more history stuff rather than watching Tattoo TV, but we'll return to Tattoo Television at some point. It's such a pleasure to be able to kind of talk to people about this stuff, and it's nice, both with the book and the podcast, to the people who are enjoying it and getting engaged and being interested. So yeah, thank you to all of our amazing patrons and everyone that's listening to the show.
Thank you very much. Bye.
See you later. Bye.